so much, everybody, for coming. I'm Zora,
and new people here, so you can
we're gonna have everybody introduce themselves really quickly, so we can all. We have a very tight group today, and actually, I've been seeing a lot of familiar faces. Now this is the third talk, so I'd like to everybody. Yeah, we kind of recognize each other. Just share a little bit more about yourself. So, this is Neelam, and I'm Zora. So, how many are new? How many are the new people today? Okay, you guys are new. So, and you too as well. The Clubhouse is your first talk. So, everybody else has been coming to several talks. So, we've been seeing each other, and I'm really enjoying this. So, you'll see Neelam and I for all the talks, and each time we have a new featured speaker. And today we're very fortunate to have Dr. Aaron Anderson to share his research. I want you guys to all get comfortable, turn off your phones, and grab a treat, or you can get up and get some tea at any time. We're really have a different format today. We're much more informal and relaxed. We will be doing our first I'll talk, then Neelam, and then we're going to have Aaron afterwards. You can interrupt us anytime for Q&A. We're not going to have the 20-minute Q&A like we did last time, but you can ask questions at any moment, and we'll use that time. So, wanted to just thank also briefly Sweet Secrets and Sippy Sparkles and Spicebox Organics for bringing us the best products that we can have tonight, and we've chosen them because they are the quality of the foods and the things that they offer, as well as their sustainability and care and consciousness for the environment. And they put in a lot of effort into creating these products for you, especially for this talk. So there is some thought behind it. They'll explain a little bit later, so feel free to go and ask them about those things. So today is about movement, so the products will be about movement. And we're going to have some time at the end for some mingling. So, welcome. So before we get started, I want everybody to go around, say your name, and say the one thing you want to get from this talk, so we have a better idea. And we're going to move through this really quickly. So let's, should we start with you, Susan?
I'm Susie. The one thing, I just want to know I'm moving right.
You want to know
honestly, if I'm doing all the things that I could be doing, if I'm doing the right things, and if I can do some more.
Great.
Yeah, I'm Christine. I guess I'm the same too. I just want to, just stay, trying to see if there's anything else I could do.
Mm-hmm. Great. This is our presenter, Aaron Anderson. So why do you want to get out of this talk?
I hadn't thought of that. I guess I just want to pass on knowledge, and so if I find out what people are wanting, then I can tell them to talk to people I'm meeting. What I do here is that people are finding out what they're doing the right thing, but it's usually not that thing, it's how you're doing it. So we'll go through the different squatting techniques and ways to go about exercising.
Great. So yeah, it's going to help you guys. That's what it's here for. Olivia, what would you like to get out of this?
Because I believe in active lifestyle, so I very much want to learn some new knowledge here.
That's Olivia, by the way. So
My name is Renata, and recently I discovered the movements and how important it is to do something in life, because I had lots of health problems. I'm here to pay respect to my personal trainer and doctor here, so I'm here just to hear what he will talk about.
Thank you.
My name is Sachin, and what I'd like to get out of this is just maybe on movement and posture, as well as recovering from training faster and not doing long-term damage because of training.
Okay. All right, Josh is here to help us with the filming. How about you?
Hi. I'm Clover, so I'm first time here. I'm introduced by Zora to come here. Actually, I'm a marketing manager for a physiotherapy clinic. Actually, I'm also interested for knowing more about movements and things, because I've got really stiff body, and when I step into the business, I realize that lots of things I'm not doing correctly. So highly recommend Aaron, so I want to have a look here and listen to your advice.
Thank you.
I'm B, and I really want to learn how to recover and prevent from injuries, since I've had some before, like the back, especially.
about you?
I'm Kalina. I'm here to support my mom and see what I can learn.
Great. So these are our vendors in the back, and I would like you to share a little bit briefly what it is that you're offering and your name and all that. So let's start with you, Sarah.
Sure, I'm Sarah Lee, and my business is Sweet Secrets. So I'm into sweets, and I'm into healthier sweets because for me, I love my sweet stuff, but health is also very high on my priority list. But if I could share like my one thing I want to get from it, so according to the chart, I'm kind of at the stage where things are supposed to be going downhill. So I kind of want to go, hey, how do I prolong that and live well, a longer health span.
And we love your sweets.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ping?
Hi, I'm Ping. I'm from ZP Sparkles. I'm providing the herbal teas today. It's my own creation. I'm actually a banker during the day, and by night I make up stuff with plants and herbs because that's my passion. The reason I'm doing it is because I want to be proactive with the way I live and feeling and living better. So I hope you enjoy the teas. If you have any questions, find me at the back of the room to the session. Thank you.
Yani or Poonam?
Hi, I'm Poonam. I'm founder of Spicebox Organics. We are stores and cafes. We have 2 stores and cafes, and one in mid-levels and one in Kennedy Town, where we have USD organic products as well as food in our cafe. We wanted to create a one-stop place where we could help people make the conscious choice when it comes to products and food. And what we're doing here is trying to pair the product with the talk. So we have turmeric ginger tea and turmeric extract capsules because they're really good with mobility, they're anti-inflammatory, they also help with joint mobility, and many people already know that turmeric has a lot of anti-cancer properties as well. So that's why we're here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yani, is there anything you'd like to get out of this talk?
I guess, hi, my name is Yanni, and I guess how not to be injured. I've been injuring myself quite a lot recently, so.
Great. She's here also to support Poonam with Spicebox Organics. Okay, great. Well, now we know each other, and we all have each other's names. Some of you guys, I don't know if you know, but we've had 2 other talks before. The first one was on intermittent fasting. The second one was on stress, the gut and the brain connection. And today we're talking about movement. And movements last a lifetime. And the next few talks too will be also touching on those other pillars of longevity. Before we get started with our information, the content, I want to share with you just a disclaimer so that we all know that everything we tell you about here is not intended to replace the advice from or substitute professional medical advice. And if you have any questions in particular, always seek the advice of your healthcare physician, healthcare provider with any personal medical conditions, or just talk straight to the doctor, okay? So I'm Zora, and for some of you who know, I'll go quickly who I am. I've been studying aging and longevity for most of my life because I had just had an interest in it, very much observational. But as I grew older, my mother passed away of breast cancer when she was 57. So it got a lot more serious after that, and I started to investigate what can I do to avoid the same destiny. And along the way, I figured out that actually it's 10% is genetics, and only 90% is actually lifestyle. So we all have a lot of control over our destiny, our health, and even if we're predisposed to certain diseases. And this is what the whole series is all about, is how can we prevent from those genetic markers being switched on or off. And this has led me onto the path as a health coach, as a sports nutrition coach, as a fitness instructor, and now I've created a program, online program called the Longevity Master Plan on the website hackmyage.com, as well as some cookbooks, so you guys can always download all that stuff too if you want to hack your age. And today's pillar is about movement, and I'm going to share with you, because I have a 5+1 plan in terms of longevity, and all of these are instrumental in extending your health span. Your health span is the difference between a health span and lifespan. Lifespan is the number of years you live. Health span is the number of years that you live in a good condition, free of disease and full of vitality. And that's my interest, is to how can I extend that health span? And I don't care to live longer if I'm going to be sick. And I think a lot of people have the same interest. So before we get into my recommendations on what are the kinds of movements that will prolong or extend your health span, I want to share a quick anti-aging tip, because this is just shows you the importance of what the talk today. I went to the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in Northern California last summer, and I met this guy, Kevin Perot, who's doing his PhD, and he's actually very well known in the community of aging. And he had a talk on Alzheimer's, and what at the end of the talk, we all were very interested in what can we do to stop Alzheimer's in its tracks, or to not get it in the first place. And he said, if there's one thing you do, as opposed to a lot of things, one thing, just move. Make sure you move and you keep moving. And every day. But he says, we got to keep our heart rate up 3 times a week, 30 minutes each time. So that is a little tip that we learned about Alzheimer's. Who would have thought Alzheimer's in the brain and how much it can be affected by the way we move. So that was one thing. So the other things that during my observations, wherever I travel, wherever I go, I always look for centenarians or older people who are thriving and observing how they're doing. And then I ask them, what do they do? And this is a woman I met in Bhutan, and she was just sitting on a teeny tiny stool, practically squatting, and she's peeling her peas. She doesn't belong to a gym. So it's not about going to a gym and making sure you get the exercise. It's about moving, and you can see she's moving. She's sitting up. She's going down. She's stirring a pot. She doesn't have the modern conveniences we have of washing machines and dishwashers and dryers. She's got to do everything by hand. And so I see centenarians or older people who are thriving. They're actually moving a lot. They don't have a lot of furniture in their house. If they want to go say hello to their neighbor, they got to climb up a mountain. If they want to go to the temple and meet their friends to socialize, then they have to go down the mountain and come back up. So they're really using their joints. Their mobility is actually quite incredible. They're caregivers as well. Their kids are going to work and they take care of the grandkids. They've got to pick kids up. They have to be squatting and standing up 100 times a day. And they also have a sense of purpose in life. When you get older and you don't work anymore, well, what is the reason to live anymore? Why should they get out of bed and move? Well, they have what they call ikagai in Japanese, or in Japan they have this saying that it's the reason to get up in the morning. Why would they get up? And they have a sense of purpose. And so they're full of life and vitality, but they're mobile, they're independent, they're riding bicycles. I mean, at age 80, and it's just very inspiring to me. So apart from that, which I think is very important, get functional movement, what are the best exercises to live to 100? In the modern world, how can we apply this to today? So I'm going to share some of the best things that you can do to have a healthy, long health span. And it's not riding a bike. Maybe it is. But it's the kind of movement you like to do best. Whatever exercises you like. If you like to hike, or if you like to ride a bike, or do yoga, it doesn't matter. Just move, just do something. And that's what I always recommend to my clients as a health coach when we get to the exercise portion, and just say, just do what you like, because you're likely to stick to it. You're likely to do it every single day, and it doesn't matter if it's the sport that will extend your health span or not. It will, because you're doing it every day because you enjoy it. That's my best tip for exercise. The studies, actually, so all exercise, like all these exercises I'm going to show you, the types of sports, they will lower your cholesterol and lower your blood pressure and help reverse type 2 diabetes, and they all are great. But I'm going to share with some of you that stand out a little bit more in terms of the studies that have shown that maybe it's a little bit better if you have certain conditions. So for example, hiking, if you have any mental health issues, if you have anxiety or depression, it's that rumination, that thinking, that constant thinking, well, you're probably better off going for a hike. or going for a walk outdoors and lower those cortisol levels. And it gets your mind thinking away out of other things. And they also say that uneven terrain is better than flat surfaces because it gets your joints moving. You're testing your ankles. You're using a lot of other muscles. You're recruiting those muscles because you're maybe going uphill or downhill. So that's just another little tip. And there's been a study that says if you walk 7 hours per week, it has a 14% chance of lowering your risk of breast cancer than if you just did 3 hours or less per week. So this is one of those types of things that we're designed to walk. We have these legs. Like we can do that every day. So no worries about overdoing it in that sense that, this is something you can fit in easily in your day. Strength training is another great exercise, and a lot of people are afraid of strength training. They think you're gonna, it's build too much muscle or turn into a bodybuilder. But in fact, as you get older, we lose our muscle mass, and that's called sarcopenia, and it's just natural process of aging. But we don't need to lose those muscles. We can actually if we have more muscle mass, then we're maybe avoid a fall, or if we fall, we're able to catch ourselves easier. And you can do this. Strength training is so effective for that. Osteoporosis as well, like this, your bones will be less brittle. So strength training, really consider that. And it's recommended to do only need 20-40 minutes per session, 2 to 3 times a week, and that's very doable. But I do recommend you get a personal trainer or a functional trainer or somebody like Dr. Erin Anderson to help you with that, because you can easily get injured just by not doing something correctly. High intensity interval training, have you guys heard of this? Do you know what that is? Yeah, it's been getting a lot of press lately, and what's been shown is that it can stimulate the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is very important for your brain, and you want to have more of this. And Alzheimer's patients, for example, don't have a very high BDNF. So there's some studies that are still going on, and they're trying to see if there's a correlation with that. So that would be HIIT training is particularly good for that, as opposed to some other types of training. So 20 to 45 minutes. I'll explain. HIIT training is basically you do about 20-30 seconds, all intense out, 100% of your energy on a bike, kind of cycling your bike. Okay, so you go really, really fast, and then you go slow to recover for another 30 seconds or a minute. It depends on your level. Like if I'm working with the 70-year-old, then it might just be sitting down and getting up off the floor, and that's going to raise the heartbeat. They don't have to go to a HIIT training class and do the battle ropes and everything. They just wouldn't be able to do it. So you have to adapt. The most important point is that you get your heart rate up and then you get it down. And they don't recommend you to do it more than 45 minutes because it's so intense. And in fact, the studies have shown that it actually has a negative effect on your body and aging if you do more. And so that's the one kind of thing you only need to do a couple times a week if you're doing that. And it has shown to reverse gene expression, so that your genes will actually get back to a youthful state.
Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
Sure.
My husband's doing it like 6 times a week. Is that too much?
I would say he needs a recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's, I think it's one of those things that he will have to assess himself. I mean, obviously he's feeling great, but I think Dr. Anderson will clarify a little bit in terms of prevention of injury, and I think that's what you want to be most concerned of. And that he has time to recover. And does he enjoy it a lot? Is that like his super,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's already good to do something, but I would say mix it up. And ideally, I mean, for me, I like to be really well-rounded, so I will include a blend of everything that we talk here. I don't just do yoga, or I don't just do walking. I like to get a strength, a cardio, and a flexibility, and I make my whole week through that, and I just keep rotating it, and I try to take the exercises different so that I recruit different muscles and challenge different muscles, because after a while you don't feel the burn anymore. You think, oh wow, I'm neglecting some other muscles. So I would recommend to be more well-rounded. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
Swimming is another one. I think this is quite obvious because it's very low impact. I think after the age of 40, we start to feel our joints and some pains and aches, and when you get in the water, it's very therapeutic. It improves your circulation. It's been shown actually that it can increase your lung capacity and lower asthma because you're breathing too a lot. That helps a lot. So Neelam is going to talk a little bit more about breathing and how positive that is for the body. And again, 30 minutes, 3 times a week. If you like swimming, it's one of the best that you can do. Yoga is one of those things, another, like you can do it every day. Like this is one that's a pretty safe one, but it also has a great influence on your brain and your mind, and it helps to lower cortisol levels. It's great for the stress. It brings positive gene expression. If you're going through premenopause or menopause, yoga is a great thing. So it's not only great for building strength and flexibility and that balance, but there's a whole other back end to it. And it has been shown to lower inflammation. So that's another issue we get when you have an injury or if you have some stress, you're getting so much inflammation. So it's one of those things that you can easily do. An hour session is generally what it is, and you can do that 2, 3, 4 times a week. If you do it every single day, then you might not have time for the well-roundedness of the other stuff, right? How many of you guys do yoga? Yeah? We've got good yoga people. Yay! Good. You've managed to feel it. What do you get, Lucia, most when you do a yoga class? What do you feel? What benefit does it give you?
I feel clarity of mind. I really feel, that I release from stress, from thoughts, and I'm brighter.
Yeah?
And I think I take my decisions for work during my yoga class.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, I feel like a lot of benefits. I think
After,
when
no, it helped me a lot.
Oh, great. Does anybody else feel anything from yoga? Like get some kind of a benefit? How has it changed your life or changed things, even if it's just a little bit?
Flexibility.
Flexibility? Yeah. If you keep going at it, you'll probably get more and more flexible. The other things that are really good, I don't know, have you heard of bar class? Is that, yeah? That's also great. It has all of these great benefits. And Pilates. Pilates is one of those things as well. That's just, it's a different type of movement and it brings great flexibility. Functional training. This is something Erin will be talking a little bit more about. And who's heard of functional training? Do you understand? This is a few people, yeah. So this is very practical. I have to say, this is almost those things that the centenarians do, the super centenarians do. They just move naturally, and we sort of lost that as we get older. And what you would do in a gym, or if you were to work with Dr. Anderson, you would do things like throwing balls around, trying to get your stability, your balance, and you would probably use some resistant bands. And it's trying to use those movements that you would use every single day. So you practice a perfect squat so that when you go to pick up your groceries or the luggage and put it onto in the airport and put it onto the little treadmill, you would break your back or you wouldn't injure yourself. So this is, it doesn't take a lot of sessions before you actually ingrain the proper movement so that you don't get injured in the future. And it works a lot on building strength and mobility. But I like the independence it gives you too, so that you don't become a burden on anyone else and have to depend on somebody to pick up the luggage for you. It's pretty empowering. So my 3 tips for you guys for today. One is to resolve any pain that you have. It's really hard to move and do all this stuff that I recommend to do if you have a backache or if your knee is hurting you, because it just spirals out of control. Once you don't go out, you don't go to the gym, you can't move, and then you start eating poorly, and then you have pain, you can't sleep, and that stresses you out, and that's called accelerated aging. So we don't want that. So whatever it is, figure it out. Go see the physio, go see an osteopath, go whatever it takes. Make that a priority because life changes once you're pain-free. Other tip is don't stand on the escalator. How many of you guys how many people are on the right-hand side of the escalator? Raise your hand. No? On the left? You guys are walkers. Awesome. You guys go up because yeah, we have so many escalators here, and I use them to get extra movement in my day. It's wonderful, and if you're in a hurry, my gosh, you're used to keep going in the left lane, right? Let those people on the mobile phones on the right. So that's my one little tip to try to do while you're in Hong Kong. Floor time. Get rid of some of your furniture. Try to spend more time on the floor. Eat lunch on your coffee table. Or try to do like that lady and squat and then, have a little snack while you're squatting and see how you get up. If you work on the computer, try working on the floor, and you'll find that you'll probably, while you're hunched over the computer, you'll need to just stand up, but you'll have to stretch, and you go, well, I'm on the floor anyways, I'm just gonna start touching my toes, or you'll see you'll wind up being more flexible, you'll wind up being a little bit more tuned in your body, and just getting up and off the floor to go to the toilet or grab a snack or get some water or answer the door. You're getting up and down a lot, so that's really great for your mobility, and that'll keep you young. So my challenge to you is to add one new movement. You can either choose one of the ones that I recommended or something else. If you always wanted to take a dance class, sign up. Try it once a week, or do some tennis lesson. Decide you're going to go hiking every Sunday, whatever it is. If you do it, take a photo, tag me at HackMyAge so I can see you do it. So that's the end of my talk. Before I'm going to introduce Neelam, and she's going to share a lot of great stuff with you, how to reverse aging. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi, I'm Neelam. I'm the founder of Inspire Yoga. So we really try to take more of a customized approach at Inspire Yoga, understanding different people have different objectives when they start their practice. And first and foremost is to release pain. Work with functional movements, and then really understanding the 3 pillars of yoga postures that we'll address. I used to be in investment banking, so this has really come from a place of passion and personal experience, understanding that when I was sitting at a desk for 14 hours a day, what that did to my body. Our physical body isn't made to be sedentary. We're made to move, isn't it? And when we don't move, when we are stuck in that place where there's stress in our minds and immobility in our bodies, how pain quickly arises and catches up to us, right? So my book, Secrets to Live Stress-Free, really outlines that journey of how to unravel stress, working with the body to access the mind, using the vehicle of the breath in order to create that mind-body connection. So the 5 chapters in my book, really, first we examine our thought patterns, and that's bringing an awareness, bringing a mindfulness into what we do, understanding the intentions behind our movements. Second then is to create that connection with our breath, with our breathing pattern, and that helps to create a suspension in our thoughts. It helps to create a suspension in the internal dialogue so that we're able to re-navigate a more relaxed place so that our biorhythms take over rather than staying in that place of stress and flux. So today we'll talk about movement and the importance of balancing strength and flexibility, the importance of helping to release tension and prevent injury as well. Finally, we'll go through inner harmony, which is what we're going to talk next week about sleep and how you need to get into a place in the mind to stop that chatter before we can induce a more restful, peaceful place to invite sleep. And then a commitment to self-care, which is the relationship of how the mind affects the body. And when we're committed to that self-care, when we're committed to our health, how it's an internal dialogue that really starts to shine and radiate outward. So movement is great. We understand the importance of exercise, and we understand it perhaps from more of an external perspective, understanding it from muscular joint pain, alignment. but our body and our breath connected, our brain is also thanking us. Our neurotransmitters are thanking us. Our hormonal levels are thanking us because it really helps to lower adrenaline. It helps to regulate the endorphins, the cortisol levels, which we stay in when we're in a place of stress, when we're in a place of fight or flight. So coming back to the breath, coming back to the movement, what we're doing is we're creating a mindful awareness to really create that sense of connection. So for me, just as Zora said, you know, it's important to understand your purpose and wanting to strive to a position where we love what we do. We create time to do what we love to do. And for me, a big part of why I get up in the morning and I exercise from 6 to 7 is so that I have the energy, and I have that energy to do what I love to do. I have 2 young children, so that means being able to run after them. It means being able to pick them up and throw them around. And just having that energy gives us a passion to get up and find what it is we love to do. So for some of my clients, it's golf, it's tennis, it's basketball. But have you ever played a competitive sport and had an injury after it? Yeah, a lot of my clients come to me saying, I love golf, but it's really hurting my back, or my elbow is suffering, but I love my tennis game. So understanding that we need a system to create a better awareness of our alignment, of our technique, but also creating that balance of strength and flexibility to harness that joint stability so that we can have more time, we can have more energy to do what it is that we love to do. So tension release is coming to use the body, but really it's helping us to access the mind. So when we're breaking the yoga practice into 3 components, it's the balancing poses, the strengthening poses, the poses to increase flexibility. So with the balancing pose, what we're doing is we're creating a mental focus. We're bringing ourselves to the present moment. Because if you're standing on one leg thinking about what you've got to do in 2 hours, chances are you're going to fall over. So the body is mirroring where your mind is. So if you're able to stay in the present, you're able to create that balance. Strength, you're also coming from a place of inner strength, of awareness, of empowerment, which is allowing you to make better decisions after a yoga class, and that creating that clarity in your mind. Flexibility, also we're working with finding that place where maybe we're at that threshold and holding a stretch isn't so fun. It's uncomfortable. There's that discomfort around it. But how do we face discomfort? Are we able to accept it? Are we able to invite a place of relaxation where we're creating breath awareness? Or are we fighting, resisting, telling ourselves we're not good enough until we touch our toes? We're not doing the pose right until our hands are on the floor. So it's also understanding what is it, how are we relating to the posture, and is it creating a positive self-dialogue? Because that's really the essence of yoga, to bring that mind-body connection towards health. And even in doing so, you know, whether it's aging, whether it's giving us that time to continue on doing what we want to do and what we love to do. I mean, we have professional sports players, a football player who can, Ryan Giggs, according to at 40 is still in the game because he believes that yoga keeps his muscles, his joints in a point of stability for him to keep going, where he can keep playing, and obviously that passion of the love for the game carries him forward. So I have a client, and they came to me with real acute lower back pain. They were he's in his 40s. a senior executive in the financial industry. Obviously, nature of the job is to be seated at his desk in front of the computer, high stress environment, at least 12 hours a day, traveling twice a week. And so it comes to the point where his body is calling out for an alarm signal, saying, hey, something needs to stop because this lifestyle is unsustainable. And that came to him through acute back pain. So what we did is really create that sense of balance between strength and flexibility, mobilizing his back, but also engaging his core muscles to create a balance of where his weight was being distributed. And just being more aware of his breath, more aware of his alignment. Within 5 months, he felt no more back pain, something that he was living with on a day-to-day basis. But more than that, he said, I'm in a position where I can come to a place of clarity, and I no longer feel like, I'm so bogged down by stress. My mood is better, and I'm making clearer decisions for it. So that also shows when we're in that practice, fully connected to that practice, it's an integral, holistic practice where we're bringing in positive effects to the body as well as the mind. So what I want to do is, I know a lot of us here are in front of our computers a lot. We're typing away, we're on our smartphones typing away, and I've seen a lot of wrist pain because of it. So I want to highlight the strength, flexibility, and balance aspects in terms of tension release by just creating an awareness of what we're doing. So I invite you to just extend your arms out, straighten out the forearms, and spread your fingers wide. Okay? So first we're going to create more alignment by increasing strength. What I want you to do is feel like your fingers are reaching your face. So you're pulling your fingers back, and at the same time you're pushing the heel of your hand forward. So you're trying to draw 90 degrees between the forearm and your hands. And just notice how much strength this requires. There's a lot of intrinsic muscles right here. Yeah, half the bones in our body are in our hands and our feet. So there's a lot of joints here too. Yeah, so breathe through it and just feel, feel that intensity, that activity, okay? All right, now relax. Take one hand and just support a stretch, holding onto your fingers and just feeling that openness around your wrist. Okay. So now this is the range of motion, this is the flexibility aspect. We're going to switch it over and just move over to the other hand. And again, just bring your awareness inward. You notice is one hand enjoying the stretch more than the other? Was one hand resisting more than the other? So just take a moment and just notice. It's all about awareness. There's And then now what we're doing is we're creating a balance of strength and flexibility. So I want you to bring your hands together, your forearms in the same line. So try to get your forearms kind of parallel to the floor, and you're pressing your fingers into each other. You're pressing the heels of your hands into each other. So this is an example of combining strength and flexibility with balance. So here you're working the range of motion because you're pressing one hand into the other, but yet you're feeling that strength because you're engaging your muscles while you do this. It's still active. And this is excellent to keep that joint strength and to release, basically you're undoing that tightness of those muscles in your wrists. Relax. So I'm going to keep reiterating, we're working mind and body. So we're working into psychosomatic experiences. As I said, expand your awareness. Notice, is one hand stiffer than the other? It's about just paying attention to where the tension is. So when you know where that tension or that stiffness is, you can dedicate your intention to bringing energy to create a balance. But if you don't even notice, that tension is just going to keep building layer by layer until there's a pain alert. So bringing your sensitivity inward actually helps you to take more of a preventative approach. Synchronizing movement and breath. Here, we're working with concentration, we're working with increasing bone density, stabilizing your joints, increasing your range of motion. But more than anything, it's about bringing your mind to your movement and use the breath in order to do that. Use the breath in order to let it be a safe guide of how far you go and allowing that acceptance to be your limit and to know that every breath comes and goes. It's not somewhere you stay. So you can let go and go with the next breath and let it take you there. And then appreciating the relationship for strength and flexibility, creating that sense of balance. I mean, have you ever gone to a yoga class where you're on your mat but you feel others watching you? I have. And so a lot of the thing, like, it's human nature, our attention draws outward, and where it's a bit competitive, it could be a bit comparative. But the essence of yoga is actually to go inward, is to notice where we are and how we're feeling, and be okay with how we're feeling, because every day is different, every breath is different, and it's just up to us to improve the quality of our breath and to improve the fabric of our practice. So I had a client who'd been practicing yoga for about 7 years. She's been going to a studio class, and she came to me. She's like, Neelam, I was in this hot class and I was really feeling it. The girl next to me had her head to her knees, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it my all and push. And so then I folded a little deeper, and before I know it, I had this excruciating pain, and I tore my ligament in my knee. And so that really shows me that the awareness is outward. It doesn't matter what's happening on the person next to you. You're either judging in a place of superiority or inferiority. Either place is not inward. It's not in a place of acceptance or honoring what you're feeling. So working in a position where we did a more one-on-one practice and created strength to have that layer of strength so that there was protection around the joints, and then created a breath awareness so that she would notice her own thresholds and be comfortable. And then she really felt like, wow, I'm noticing my hamstring so much more than my knee now. It's not about pushing, but it's about alignment. It's about feeling that freedom from that range of motion that I'm getting. So it's also taking the emphasis out of those classical postures and just being able to settle into how you feel and be comfortable with however that is. So on a psychosomatic level also I've seen, on a psychosomatic level I've also seen tension build around. And when you're sitting at your desk, what are the areas that you feel quite tense? If you've had a long day, you've been at your desk and for a prolonged period of time. Do you guys feel it around your shoulders? Yeah, definitely. Back pain? Yeah. Neck? Yeah. Hips? Yeah.
Everything.
Absolutely.
All of the
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said to start with, the body isn't made to be in this sedentary position and then have a stress response, because the stress response elicits movement. It elicits a response that isn't typing an email back, and so creating a position where we're stressed and that tension and that tightness really exacerbates the situation where we're then faced with pain. We're really good at putting a mask on suppressing our feelings, on suppressing our thoughts, saying, yep, got it all together, under control, it's fine. And we can say that to ourselves, we can say that to people around us. But the body doesn't lie, does it? Eventually, it manifests onto a physical level. So really honing in that message, where if we're just a bit more sensitive to what our internal environment is, it will reflect on an external basis. So being sensitive to the mental chatter, being sensitive to, are we trusting and do we feel like we've got trust and control over our movements, or are we in a place of resistance or judgment? And then with that, we come to a place of deeper confidence. So I'm going to end now and ask you all to stand up. We're going to do a breathing exercise that will pair with movement. So it's really about where your mind is. You know, we'll be at a desk all day. We'll feel neck pain, you know, sitting at a desk. Yet somebody could be sitting for meditation for an hour, and very rarely do I hear, oh, my neck was hurting because of the meditation. So it's not so much the physical alignment, it's really what's happening on the mental framework. So in order to clear that mental framework, to reboot and reset what's happening in the mind, we use the vehicle of the breath. So bringing your hands on your thighs, I want your hands to be the barometer of your breath. So as you inhale, you're going to gently lift your arms all the way up. And then as you exhale, you slowly bring them back down to your thighs. So just keep with that rhythm, inhaling up and exhale down. Okay, now just feel that natural rhythm. As you inhale, feel like you're creating space, so there's more space to breathe into. You're filling up. And as you exhale, you release down, just that gentle contraction. As you inhale, let your breath guide your body. So it's not where your hands are going, it's how you're breathing that your hands are responding to. More awareness, let the breath guide your movement. And just create that evenness between the inhalations and the exhalations. And just notice that frame of mind, that peacefulness. There's no other thought that can be entertained when we synchronize breath and body. It's a cleanse for the mind. It's a point where we can suspend our thoughts. Thank you. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Aaron Anderson. He is an incredible osteopath with more than 20 years experience. He's trained with the Olympic Australian national rugby team, cycling team, and he's a sports scientist and just a wealth of knowledge. So we're really honored, and thank you so much, Aaron, for being here and sharing your expertise.
Well, thanks to Zora and Neelam, who've put like a lot of work into this, and I obviously prepared to talk, but it's on their platform, and there's been a lot of work out behind the scenes, and it's run. We did a talk this morning, it ran very smoothly, and this is it. This is part two, I guess. So, just very quickly, I work between Melbourne and Hong Kong, and that keeps me very tired. So, we didn't intend to be in Hong Kong as long as we have been, and so I thought I'd just keep my Melbourne clinic running, and 5 years later I'm still doing that. So, but I enjoy that, and so I'm going there Sunday and I will week in Melbourne. And so originally I was trained as a sports scientist, and I worked in that field for 3 or 4 years, I guess, and I was moving towards being a rehabilitation expert. So I was doing a lot of rehabilitation programs for people that had had injuries and working with a lot of athletes, and I got to the conclusion that the most important thing to start with was the posture, because posture is where your movement starts and ends. And I felt that if we didn't address that first, you would be probably putting fitness on top of dysfunction. So rather than being a rehab person that refers out, at the time I decided to become that person. So I went back to university at 27 and retrained over 5 years. And I've been 44 now, so I've been practicing as an osteopath for the last 13 years, which I enjoy a lot. However, I still do the rehabilitation stuff. So now, the topic for tonight was movements to keep you young. So I'm going to talk about 5 different movements that I use in my own practice, and 4 I think are quite unique to what I do, and I do them myself, and I think you can find them very easy to implement into your daily life and also your gym program. So let's have a look at that. I thought what I'd like to do is talk about the current fitness trends, because it's certainly we're moving in a direction of where movement is important. The movements that I give you will indicate what my program DNA is made up of, and from that you'll have a blueprint and maybe a new paradigm for your own training regime. So these are my opinions. They're based on the best evidence. I've got a few interesting research articles there, but a lot of it's on my first-hand experience. So I've done the talk today, but I've been working as an osteopath and also went to the gym and trained a few people. So certainly I'm at the coal face of not being just a walking expert. So the current trends in exercises, what I'm finding is that we're moving towards movement practices. So 20, 25 years ago, you didn't see many sort of yoga studios, I don't think. But where I live in Discovery Bay, if there's a new place opening, it's either going to be a cafe or a yoga studio. So so the way I'm thinking is that if you're going to, we come to the realisation that movement's very important. So we need to be aware of how we're moving. So it's not it's the what, it's the how. And hopefully I can show you a few sort of hacks tonight that I've learned. So when I'm working with someone in their rehab sort of setting, what I'm really doing is grooving evolved movement. So I break the body and movement up into like computer terminology. So I see the body as like being the hardware, so that's the processor. So I'm sure there's a few IT people here. And movement's the software. So you can have like a really, you might be a corporate guy who's played a lot of rugby. Your hardware's going to be pretty patched up, but your movement might be very nice and clean. So you can sort of work with that. And it depends. So when someone's coming into the gym with me, I'm working on updating their software, because some people still run with Windows 98. So there is hope for all of us, because even if you've had numerous operations or spinal surgeries, I see that as a hardware problem. But there's a lot, you can run some really slick software and still be very functional. So I'm all about making sure people can squat properly, lunge properly, push, press, rotate, bend and extend, and also hinge through the hips. And with this, it's with proper alignment, and so this is where posture is a very big part of it, and proper form, and at all times efficient and safe execution. So I guess a lot of my exercises, it's all about scaling. So you'd see at boot camps people doing kettlebell swings, which is a fabulous exercise, but if you're not taught how to do that, you're going to see me in the clinic or someone else. So, and I walk by these boot camps and I see people doing these swings, and I just see the discs in their back, bubble wrap, and it pops. Oh. I'm just like, oh, geez. So I guess at this stage, what I would say is if you're interested in doing some movement stuff, you should go and find the best available coach or teacher that you can find, depending on your time and money, because it certainly is money well invested. And in my experience, it's going to be someone who's been in the game for a long time. Sometimes it might be like an athletic coach, but you want to be dealing with someone who has been doing it for 15, 20 years. That would be my recommendation. And I've had lots of movement coaches myself. I'm going to go back to Melbourne, get coaching from other people, and I guess it's a big part of how I live. So now, at any time, just pop your hands up and ask me a few questions because that will keep me on, will keep me on my toes. So, any questions so far? Zora?
What's the correct form of kettle swing? So what one should be aware of?
Well, look, the thing is, there's a few points, but a lot of movement comes from your hips, so it should be hip driven. So with a kettlebell swing, it's really a deadlift at speed. And you can quite easily hurt yourself with a deadlift, but if you do a deadlift with the correct form, it's quite a safe exercise. So the kettlebell is all about learning how to hip hinge, and it's an action that a lot of people have lost. So if you can't hip hinge with no weight, you probably shouldn't be doing it at speed with something at the end here. And most people with when they're doing a kettlebell swing, they're they're focused on the weight. So but it's actually, it's like a whip. You should be fairly soft, and this is at the very end of the whip. So it's being driven from your hips, not your arms or your neck. You see the start. If you're driving through your hips, you should only come to about here. So, but you need to, before you jump into a kettlebell swing, you need to start with learning how to hip hinge. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah.
Do you do kettlebell swings? No. Oh. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, try to.
You have to do it, you can't try, you have to. So, anyway, it's a fabulous exercise. So, we're talking about now, because we're all 21 in this room, right? How to make our lives better when we're 70. So, in my experience as a clinician, I have two very different experiences where I have 40-year-olds come to me with some sort of issues and 70-year-olds come in, and the way they present is very distinct, and I think we can learn a lot from the way a 7-year-old speaks, because eventually we're all going to get to 70. So the way I hear them talk, I think if we take on what they're saying, it can influence the way we think and act now. So I live in Discovery Bay. Married with 2 children, so that's quite sort of classic. And I see a lot of 40-year-olds because your physical warranty runs out around about 40. So you can go about your life and do what you want, but once you get to 40, 42, if you're not looking after yourself, that's when things start to go ping. So 40-year-olds, they'll come in, and the main thing is, especially over here in Central, is can you please remove my pain? If you get them sorted out in 2 sessions or whatever. And sometimes the problem will just sort itself out anyway. They're like, I'll see you when I need you. They're out the door. If you talk to these people about exercise, they'll say, oh look, I should be doing it. They know they should be doing it, but they're bogged down with career, they're bogged down with children, they're tired, they're travelling. And sometimes there's a bit of a concern about the expense, because that's, they've got private school fees and also time expense. They're quite sort of time poor, so they know they should be doing it, but they just haven't got the availability in their life to do it. So that's how I find 40-year-olds are presenting to me. And then I also have a good cohort of 70-year-olds, and I came over to Hong Kong to work as an osteopath, and I tell you, I'm training a lot of 70-year-olds and it's not what I was expecting at all, 70, 71, and I take these people on at 71 and 72, and I always hear the same sort of things, is that, deep down I think they're not wanting to burden their children, so there's a big difference between 70 and 80, so from what I've seen, because I see people with their clothes off a lot, 80 is quite elderly, but 70 is not. And I think there's a huge, between 70 and 80, there is a decline. But they get to 70, they're like, ooh, they start sort of breathing quite deeply. And the main thing is they don't want to be a hassle with their family. I think the second thing is they want to be independent, so they work very hard. Now's when they want to go to Spain to do some hiking or see the pyramids or whatever. They want to enjoy their golden years. And I get this real impression that they're like, not I should do it, like I have to do it, I must do it. And they feel like the gate is closing. So a 40-year-old, I certainly have to work around them. It's like, if I don't have a lunchtime appointment for them, I won't see them. But a 7-year-old, they will say to me, you just tell me. You tell me what time, And I'll say, and look, I've seen people living in the at night. That's not common. That I'll give all sorts of weird hours, you know. I've done 5 a.m. I don't enjoy this really, but sometimes just to accommodate, I'll be like, if I'm flying out at 6 a.m., this is all I've got. No worries, I'll be there. I mean, a 7-year-old never breaks their appointment, ever. But a 40-year-old will, they'll WhatsApp you, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's been quite interesting.
I have a question. What would a 70-year-old give the advice, the one piece of advice to a 40-year-old?
Well, they always say 2 things. They always say, I wish I had started this earlier, and I hope my children do this.
And I'll have my children do it?
I hope my children do it.
I hope my children do it.
That's what they say.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's better to start early then.
It's better to start early and it's never too late.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I haven't sort of trained many 80-year-olds or things. Anyway. So, movement for me, it's all about preserving it because you can already, we're all born to do it. Like if a child isn't walking at 1, you know, there's quite concern, isn't there? And if the child can't squat, you whip them off to the paediatrician. But we get to our sort of advanced age and we've sort of forgotten how to do it. So the thing is you should, and when you work with like maybe sort of circus sort of people or people that have jobs which involve a fair bit of physicality, they still have maintained that movement. And you certainly see that with dancers. But then I'm all about grooving it and enhancing it and making it as well as possible. Because if your movement's not quite right, you are either going to be working towards a certain plateau, especially in a gym, because what will happen is if your squat is not quite right, that will be your limiting factor. And so you'll either get a performance plateau or you will get injured. So Zora before, because I've been doing this for quite a while, I certainly have that certain eye now where I can see, and then when I watch different sports on TV or just people out in the street, you can go, right ankle, he's got this, he's got that. So, and I can tell you as an osteopath, you can hurt your right ankle and that can cause an issue over here, or you can have a bad knee, like you can have a bad knee and that can give you a pain here. Like it's very, very straightforward. Easy to see. So what I will do, if someone's got a bad knee, you can work with getting their ankle better and their hip better, and you can sort of work towards these things. So certainly if you've had injuries or operations in the past, there is a lot of hope if you can get in and deal with the movement. And certainly there's a field that's going to increase in scope in the years to come. So we had a question about frequency before. So you were saying your husband does hit?
Well, when he's not traveling, 6 times a week. And he has not lost a pound. I mean, okay, he might have lost, he doesn't weigh himself, but he has not lost any girth. His tummy's still there.
Right, okay. So is he getting injured or not really?
No.
Oh, it's...
I mean, he's injured because he was a rugby player, so he's got all kinds of problems.
Sounds like he's got a lot of energy, yeah.
For that. But other than that, he's always, no seriously, he's tired all the time. I don't get it.
Consultation over, I think I know
No, I mean, like he has all this energy, he's very athletic, he's very muscular and all that, but.
How long has he been doing the HIIT?
Oh, 4 or 5 months.
Look, I'd question, is he actually doing HIIT? Because I lift weights.
45.
No, but I lift weights twice a week, and sometimes I really gas myself. No way I can do that 6 times a week. So I have people come in and they do all these aerobic classes.
Maybe I should go watch his F45 class and see what's
happening.
Well, yeah. Talk about that later, but yeah. I watched an F45 class, and it's pretty intense. I saw it. I mean, I did go and check it out.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and it's cortisol, I think, stress.
Look, I think a lot of it is, so I guess when I've worked with the elite cyclists, they train really, really hard, then they go to bed, they have a nap in the afternoon. They get in, the food's already prepared for them, so they sit there and they do another really hard session, and they're in bed at 8 o'clock. So I think a lot of it actually depends on what your lifestyle's like. So if you're a very busy banker and you're doing conference calls at night, I think it's very hard to...
He does have conference calls.
Well, he's going to be tired, and and then it's going to lead to other things.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better just to stay in bed and have a smoothie rather than get up and. But anyway, so Stuart McGill is a very famous spinal biomechanist who came to Hong Kong a couple of years ago. And I've got a list of people that I want to see in my lifetime, and Stuart was certainly on that list. I'm going to go do some more study with him in November in Vancouver. And he said, look, a very good recipe is you do your sport twice a week, you do strength training twice a week, you do some mobility training twice a week, and you walk every morning. And I think that's not a bad sort of mix there. Now, if I want to be, let's say I want to be a bodybuilder, I might do the strength work 4 times a week. I might not do I might do less mobility. So you can sort of modulate it depending. But if you want like an all-round general well-being, I think this is not a bad way. I was talking to Zora about there's a gym here. That, I think they offer that sort of stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, what's mobility? Explain a little bit. What is a mobility training, for example?
Well, look, I guess people would. I guess it's a fairly big umbrella, so you might be looking at yoga, possibly Pilates. There's a lot of like parkour. There's these sort of free movement classes starting to come up, and
Functional training would fall under what category?
well, it depends what sort of functional training you're doing. So functional training could be towards a certain sport, so you could be like lifting weights to become a better marathon runner, or functional training could be the sport itself, like the F45, or it depends. Functional training can sort of cross all of those.
So the sport would be the fun stuff that you like to do, right? Or the active, maybe more cardio type stuff, or does it?
Well, I'm thinking like tennis or squash or something that you might compete at on the weekend. Like probably something that involves a skill. Yeah. So that gives a fairly nice spread.
With regards to like how much time you should be spending like on these activities, was there like stipulated like time that you said dedicate like 30 to 45 minutes or per day just to kind of optimize your 6 times a week workout?
That's a good, very good question. Look, I think it depends on quite a few factors, but it really depends on what's going on in the rest of your life. So when I go back to Melbourne, I'm really busy. I'm working on, and there'll be some days I don't do much at all. But when I first moved to Hong Kong and I wasn't working a lot, I mean, I was doing a lot more. So it depends on how much you can recover. So in regards to a gym, I think if you're spending more than an hour in the gym, you're making friends. So I keep the sessions to 45 minutes. So I run a couple of kettlebell classes. 45 minutes, boom, we're done. Starts at 6, finishes at 6:45. So it's quality versus quantity. So as your quality goes up, so if you're sprinting, you'll be doing less of it. But if you're going to do, if your sport is ultra running, you're going to do miles and miles and miles. You're going to look a bit sort of weather beaten by the end. If you do years and years. Marathoners run this club. They're quite sort of emancipated, don't they? So.
What about recovery days and how much recovery time, or does that depend?
Well, it depends on how much you need. So if your diet is really poor and you don't get good sleep, you need lots. And if you maximise, if you eat well, and you go to bed early, your recovery will be. So you've got to look at the back end stuff, I think. So I was training someone. He was a banker in a way, I guess, and he was doing conference calls till 11 or 12 at night, and then he was doing like a class at 6 a.m. and he could like barely open his eyes, and it was just no good. It's better for him just to stay. But he was doing the strength training because he thought he needed to do it, but I think he should have just stayed in bed. To be honest. But you just can't do everything. So this is the first movement that hopefully tonight I can have in your mind clearly about how to do a squat, because the squat is our most primal movement. This is a picture of in Hoi An, I think 4 years ago, and the reason I took the picture was the lady is selling leaves and roots, and squatting, I thought, ooh, that could have been 1,000 years ago. It's very primitive, I guess. But she looks happy. And so with the squat, what it does is it resets the body. So, and it's a very, and as Zora has travelled around, you see in a lot of these societies, they do squat a lot, don't they? Yeah. And in a Western society like Hong Kong, and you have a talk, people are going to gravitate towards the chairs.
Yeah. Who chose the chair today? Who chose the floor?
So the squat's the foundation of most exercise, and I use it as a screening mechanism. So if you get someone to do a squat, you can very quickly point out which things are tight or weak. So let's talk about this first. So there's a difference between a younger person squatting and an older person squatting. So I'd never do a squat class for like an 8-year-old because they can just do it and you're wasting time. But for someone who's 30 or 40, absolutely. So I just thought, look, there's 8-year-old yes and 40-year-old no, and I was like, just what's the difference? So I found this article here, and what they did is they did a test on jumping, just like a jump up in the air like this. So they did it with, say, 20-year-olds, and they did it with people aged up to 100, and they filmed them, and they just compared the differences. And what they found was a 20-year-old can jump a lot higher than someone who's 100, and that's probably a big surprise. But what they found is someone who's younger, they can sit into their hips, and when they generate the the jump, it goes hips, knees, ankles, so it's like a sequential wave through the body, 1, 2, 3. So you need to have good control and patterning through your hips, knees and ankles. Now, what they found with older people was that they'd sort of locked up through here, they'd locked up their hips and they were tight. So a younger person's going to jump like this, but an older person does it simultaneously, sort of. When you think of an older person, they would sort of jump like that. So if we are going to squat like the way that we are meant to, we need to go back and learn how to sit into our hips. And that is something that I think, by and large, a lot of people have lost. So let me show you how to squat properly. So, thank you. So, look, the good thing about a squat is that if there's only one thing you're going to do today from what I'm trying to convey, is I would be practicing this every day. And I don't know, how many times would you sit down a day? 50 times? Or you can practice it 50 times a day. So most people, they don't squat, they collapse. So they come down like this. And then when they come up, like that. And they come in the clinic and they sit down like that. And I say, how can I help you? And they go, I've got to sit back. And then they do up, and I've worked on them and they undo all the work. But with a squat, what you need to think, I'll give you the key pointers. First of all, it needs to come from the hips, okay? And the hips are the first movement, so this is what initiates it. So the hips will drift back, and what you will find yourself doing, if you haven't done this for a while, is that you won't do the hips, you'll shoot forward with your knees. All of a sudden you've lost your hips. And once you start like this, you can't catch it again, you sort of squat like that. So it's a matter of sitting back and being comfortable sitting into your hips. Hips go backwards and the knees bend. The bottom part of your leg should really not be moving. You don't want your knees shooting forward like this. Because this, when I do that, my knee actually hurts here. Okay, so it's not like that. So you're sitting back, so I'm not moving. I come down, and at this bottom position here, it's shoulder, then knee, then toe. So the knees are behind the toes, but the shoulders behind the knees. So it goes 1, 2, 3. Now the way you practice this is with the chair. So you've got to have your feet on the ground nice and firm. When you sit back, see how my hips come back? Sit back and down, just nice and gently. And when you move gently, you're not putting a lot of strain through your body. So it shouldn't be. If you do this for 50 years, you're going to wear yourself out. But when you're coming up, you need to activate, you need to squeeze your legs and actually get some tension in there, and then you're just pushing up like that. So sitting back. So my legs are doing the work. Sit down nice and gentle. then when I come up, I squeeze and I push up like that. So that is certainly the way that I move every day, because if I hurt my back, I can't work, and that would be very depressing. So who wants to try that?
I have a question before. So I was actually teaching my parents to do that because they've had massive knee pains.
Great.
And they asked me, oh, do I dig my heels into the ground? And I never really thought about the heels. I was like, just squeeze these muscles, and they couldn't do it, which is actually really bad.
Not so bad,
So
but
they
yeah.
were, well, they're at 60, 70 years old.
It's good, yeah.
So I was trying to say, yeah, just engage these muscles and get up. So do you put more pressure to push down and then engage these muscles, or you're just, squeezing these muscles and then getting up? Because it's quite hard for them to understand something that they've never done properly before.
Since 8.
Yeah, since 8.
Well, first of all, you've got to have your feet rooted into the ground. Your feet need to be on the ground, because that's the platform you're going to be working off. So make sure that your feet are, like this, like that.
Yeah.
And then, so you, with the muscles, you're actually squeezing the muscles and you're creating tension, and that's what pushes you up. So I know you're focusing through here, but really the one that drives it is this one here. You can use, most people use this as a cushion, So so it's creating tension through. So if you're creating the tension through here, you're going to take the strain off your back. I might have a little picture up through here. So this is someone that came into the clinic, and she'd actually been doing like a weight training course for osteoporosis. She'd done lots and lots of squats. She had sore back, so I said, okay, I'll get you to sit down. I just sort of put this on this little lap that I've got, and she's sort of sitting like this. It was about 4 minutes later where I actually got her. And we talked about this before. The issue is that now she is, to get up, she's now using her head like this. So it's really funny. You'll say to people like, do this, and then but they find different ways to work away. So she's just by looking at these two things, you can see so much. Number one, she's throwing her arms forward just to look a bit of a. So this is how she'd go.
Yeah.
Throw the arms up. They'll be like, what's going on there? Now, like she's got here. She's wanting to. She's putting. You can do that as well. Push it through there. But then, if there's going to be a third picture, I didn't get to that. So look, you've got to take the chin in. Now you're starting to use your head. Because your head weighs as much as a bowling ball, now you're using your head. And you're going to start developing neck issues down the track. So it's... Yeah. So does someone here have a good squat? What do you guys think?
Let's see. Stop jerking her head up. I don't know. I don't have the trained eye. It looks good to me.
Do you do yoga? Yeah.
I do gym. Yeah, strength.
I look at pretty good, but I do see, and this is where we start getting into the finer details.
Yeah.
I can just see you steal a bit of movement through your lower back.
Yeah, that would be why I have pain. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
how could I make that better?
how can you make that better? First of all, you've got awareness now. There's many different ways into this, but I'd be working on some fairly specific core stuff. And with the squat, I'm all about scaling. So you're not yet at the stage of being able to sit on a chair.
Okay.
So you've got to scale it back and do other sort of exercises. So you get pain around about there?
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah. Thank you.
anyone else want to do a squat?
Definitely the oldest person in the room, so.
We're making the best effort on the floor, right?
And the way I saw you get off the floor was pretty good then.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so. Yeah.
First of all, give yourself a bigger base.
Okay, so I gotta just pretend like I'm doing this in the gym, right?
Don't take it.
Right, so.
Not too bad.
But something's wrong, I know.
You just use your arms as that.
Well, I didn't know what to do with my arms. You mean I used them too much, is what you're saying?
Use them as a counterbalance.
Okay, so if I just, what should I do?
Sit down by your side.
I feel like I'm in the gym, so.
Wait.
That's different.
Yeah, it is.
Is
it harder?
Yeah,
just needs a
it's
little
really
bit.
hard. I've been doing them all my life, and I always put my arms out.
Yeah.
And when I sit down in a chair, I don't put my arms out, so.
I think you probably collapse and fold.
Probably, because my back hurts right here.
Okay. That's it. Yeah. So, I mean, look, a lot of back problems here, people just aren't using their hips properly. And this is your biggest muscle and your biggest joint. And this has to be working properly, because if this works properly, you don't have to steal the movement from your lower spine. So, okay. Anyway, do you want to go again? We'll do the one on the ground, okay? Do the one on the ground.
Oh, that I can do.
I don't know if I can.
I can do that.
I don't know if I can.
I don't know if I'm doing that right.
Come back up. So, you're sitting into your hips, hey? You're sitting into your hips, you're not bowing too wide. Okay. You're sitting back, keep your chest up. Up. That's better. Tuck your chin. Tuck your chin in. Oh, very nice. Up. Great. That was better than this morning.
Was it?
Did it feel better? Not really?
It's difficult. It's slight. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we see a 17-year-old do a squat? So
Yes.
she still has it.
It's great. I saw the way she got off the bench then, not too bad.
Good.
To the floor?
Sorry?
To the floor?
Yeah. Well, your choice, yeah. There you go. Quite bendy, you quite a bendy person? Just a bit of arm stuff and a bit of a combination of here and yeah, so try it on the chair.
It's hard when you're on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is something I've done for a long time. And, yeah, so not too bad, but certainly could probably a little time through the legs and just some little hacks that I probably want to work on. Yeah, so that's
While you're young.
Yeah, that's right.
Not to lose anymore.
This is a 7-year-old that I treat, and this is just a random photograph that it's I've got an app that I use for filming people. I just photograph just one frame. I didn't cue this or anything. I was like, that'll do. And I've been training John for 15 years. I give him a new program every month. We've become very good friends. So you can see here, and he's had he has like really arthritic knees, but he's sitting back in his hips here. And it's really quite a nice squat because at 70, most people, they can't get their hips back. They sort of like that study. So, and he's using a kettlebell here, and kettlebells, they sort of pull you down to the right position. So if I was just looking at a textbook, I'd say, look, he's obviously quite kyphotic. And I'd say, look, his hardware's probably a bit aged, but I do like his software. So, and that's why he's, the good thing for me is John's got 4 children. And so since I started training John, I've trained his 4 children and their partners and their exes. So for John, there's been about 10 people. So when I go back to Melbourne, this is on film, isn't it? I see the whole family. So, they're very good friends now.
Okay, we can edit.
Yeah. I did say nice things. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Okay, so get your squat right, for goodness sakes. Okay, the second thing is you want to...
in the squat, you should show the exercise against the wall.
Sure.
So people see that.
That was a good one.
That's a
But that
good
was
one.
for the squat, yeah.
Okay, I'll show you that. So the squat is... So in this world, you know, our attention is directed forward, you know, screens and it's a visual world we live in now, hey? So it's all forward, but the squat is actually getting back, which people lost the ability and the confidence to come and sit back. So before you lift heavy weights, I think you should screen yourself doing this technique, and if you can do this technique, you can probably start doing some heavy weights. So just stand up against a wall, and then your toes up, just coming down.
You make it look so easy.
That's my job.
Oh, somebody test it out. Try it. Somebody.
I'll try it.
Yeah, try it.
If somebody else wants to, they can. Go ahead.
Anyone else? Oh, I'll try it.
Okay, coming down, Sarah Lee.
You want to show me again? Like, guide me.
So you gotta, it's all about getting your hips back.
The toes have to touch the...
Well, they don't have to touch, but I want your knees to go forward.
Oh, I see.
Go forward.
So yeah, because people they'll find ways to sort of beat the system. Yeah. No. You have your toes forward.
Toes forward.
Please. Yeah.
And
Stand up tall. Stand up tall. Don't collapse. Sit back. Sit back. No, not the knees. Sit back. Yeah, that's
You're going to sit in the toilet.
That's right. Down. Down.
Okay.
So from looking at that, I'd say her legs are probably a little tight and probably weak in that lower position. So a very nice exercise to do is just practice that. So what I'll do with patients is I'll get them to do it in front of the door and they hold them to the door handle and they can do it while sort of holding on to the door handle and doing it up over time.
just a little bit of support and just practice that.
Well, you can sort of sit back, yeah. You've got to make sure it's locked because you don't do it.
Excuse me, what was wrong with her?
What was wrong with her in terms of why couldn't she do it?
Said her legs were tight.
So is she too much like that or too much strain?
Well, Sarah Lee just gets to this position and she can't go any further. She's stuck. She doesn't have the strength to keep sitting back and back. She doesn't have the strength and control to come down here. So she can do this. She's okay at this height. Down here, she just doesn't have
So
it.
it's not flexibility or mobility, it's strength.
It's a combination. She doesn't. She's lost the software.
Yeah.
She's lost it somewhere for this. So her software runs to here, and then you can see their brain just going, what next?
You want to try it, Lucia?
Yes, I'm curious. I don't know. I think I'm not so good here because I'm blocked. I should take this out or?
Yeah. Maybe shoes
Yeah.
off too.
See what you're wearing.
I'm okay with the jeans.
Oh, she's hacking her age.
So, tell me what.
Your shoes are going to give you an advantage too, because you might take your shoes off.
No cheating.
So. Without.
It's like a striptease.
Like that?
Have your legs wider, please. Yeah, that's better.
Not touching the wall.
Come back a bit. Don't make it too hard. Come back. Yeah, that's good. Not too much.
I don't know if I can do but
Okay, that'll do. There you go.
I think I cannot actually.
You can. Yes, you can.
So,
Put
my
your-
legs, what should I do?
Hips back. As if you're going to sit in the
Squat.
toilet. Squat.
Your default is going through the knees, not the hips. That's the problem. That's the problem. You can see the back.
Here I cannot.
Are the legs not wide out enough?
Problem's
Does
not
that
that. No.
I think it's the age, right?
No.
It's okay. I mean, I'm not worried.
The first action is the important action. The first action has to do with the hips coming backwards. You need to sit into your hips. So your first action is your knees shoot forward, and then you've lost it.
So like that?
You need to drift your hips backwards. Drift your hips back. More. Down.
What did I do it for her?
Down.
You see it?
So does it make a difference her knees are closed
Because
again?
in fact, when I do that, so
Yeah, her
I
knees
go,
go in.
you know,
Closed
I
again
go
and she
towards,
bends down?
I do like that. If I do like that,
Well, look, the thing is, it's not a thing. It's not up the legs, this, that, knees, that. It's the hips aren't being sat into, and then it's a movement that is unfamiliar, which you might not have done for a very long time. So,
normally, you know, I do like that, but forward.
yeah, do you get a sore back?
No.
Okay, that's good. No injuries.
But when I go here, I don't know if it's the wall.
But her knees go in, is
Yeah,
that
knees go in.
compensating or?
Because the bottom is probably weak, because the bottom will push your knees out. So, so probably
Glutes.
Glutes.
What should I do?
Glutes. Your butt. Work on, so strengthening the glutes, that's the part of the formula.
Yes. The best exercise is the squat.
Yes, this is the foundation of everything. This is where all
But
these
I do
start.
like that maybe, you know? So easier.
Yeah, your body is, like he said, trying to find the position so that it can go down.
So my concern would be if someone has this movement that's not quite right, and they load it up with weight. Woo!
Yes, and the body
Woo!
collapses
Doesn't get any
down.
better.
Yeah.
And then they're in a group and they do it when they're fatigued.
Yeah. And fast without any awareness.
6 times a week.
Yes.
Yeah, I worry about that.
The second hack is walk briskly. Okay.
May I have one question?
Sure.
Actually, two questions regarding alignment for the squat. I'm always curious. Actually, this squat reminds me of the yoga pose, like the chair pose, where your knees can over the toes and you have to like squat down and then we raise our hands. I always have the question because some teachers always say we will prefer to tilt our pelvis, and some of them ask us not to tilt it. So, what is the correct way, or actually it's okay? And the second question is, some of us have to like align straight, or some it's okay to make it a bit, I don't know, to those like a flop. So which one is correct? Or that's not correct? Depends on people.
Okay, well I'll just give you my opinions. So what I've taught you tonight is like a squat 101. This is a basic squat, okay? Now you can do different versions. You can do a knee squat where you sit up very tall and it's going to be coming through the knees. Or you can do a back squat where you actually come over like this. So if I'm lifting a world heavy, if I'm lifting 200 kilograms, I'm going to have to do it like this. You will have to use your back, so you're going to have a strong back. So there are different variations on that squat. The one I showed that's the one I like to get right, and then you can start playing around with variations depending on what activity you're doing. So this is a Russian squat. This one's an American squat. So there's lots of variations. In regards to the feet, what you should do is just jump down to the ground. There you go. That's where you're comfortable down like this. So I'm not a huge fan of these sort of plie squats. I don't think that's too great on the knees. And I don't think you should get all rigid and say, I'm a train. It needs to be just
natural.
And because everyone has different hips, you know, some people have like a retro version or anti-version of hip. So, but the way you want to find this, you should have the mobility where you get down into the position. And so for me, I'm actually quite comfortable there. Probably put my feet in a little bit like that. It's more the knees tracking over the toes more than anything else. So I don't like to see this sort of stuff. Often it's just a matter of put your legs out and that will activate this. Yeah. So, but all those yoga things are quite good. But I think you got to master the. A baby would sit like this, eh? I think that's your blueprint. Second hack is walk briskly. So this is an interesting study. It was called How Fast Does the Grim Reaper Walk? And this was conducted in Sydney. And they got almost 2,000 Australian men aged over the age of 70, and they just timed them to see how fast they could walk. So 70 plus. They came back 5 years later, right, to test those 2,000 men again. And they found that of that group, 266 had died. Okay? Well, they were over 70, and their average walking speed was 3 kilometres an hour. Now, anyone that was walking, anyone that could walk 5 kilometres an hour at their maximum didn't die. So there's two very distinct groups. So the conclusion was the Grim Reaper, his speed is 3 kilometres an hour. So if your speed is only 3 kilometres an hour, you're walking alongside the Grim Reaper. So
Okay, go faster than 3 kilometres an hour.
How far were they walking?
I can't exactly remember how far, but I think they might have done a distance and then just extrapolated. It wasn't so much 3 kilometres an hour, it was a metres per second. So
they did a short, I mean, they weren't having to sustain that over.
I actually can't remember if it was actually for an hour or I think it was a shorter period of time. So
It's 20 minutes per kilometers very good. Is it? 3 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, it's super slow.
Yeah, it is.
It
It is.
well, it's an indication that you're reaching towards mortality. Yeah.
So is the faster the better? Like, should we really be doing like a, or is it not? Is there a sweet spot between?
Well, sweet spot is 5 kilometres an hour and above. Yeah. So I'm just saying, look, it's a concern that if you get to a stage in your life and you can only maintain 3 kilometres an hour, because things looking pretty grim, and that might be for bad knees or bad feet or who knows what it is, but there is something in there where walking briskly prolongs life. So, okay, hack number 3 is you should be working on your grip strength, and this is, look, I sort of came around this because as people get stronger and stronger in gyms and what have you, often their limiting factor is their grip. So they could actually lift a heavier weight, but it's their grip that gives out. And also you find that with a lot of elbow injuries, often it's because there's a weakness in the wrists. So best I can, I work on people's grip strength when I'm training them. So this is a patient who's 70 years old as well. And so he had a right shoulder problem. And so the way we treated him was we did a gym program, but we did like a lot of hanging. And he probably started off with around about 25 seconds. And then when I went back to Australia a month later, I think he got it up to maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And this is really good because number one, it works on your grip, so it makes your hands stronger. But also it stretches out these long muscles through here, the latissimus dorsi. And these are the largest muscles of your upper body, and they're designed to be up here and being pulled down. So certainly there are many people out there that this muscle hasn't been stretched out for years, and doing just static hanging. So I start like that, and then we do ones like that, and you can do stuff where you're sort of moving around or twisting around. So I work with grip strength with just pure hanging and timing that. And I also get people just to hold heavy weights, maybe like a 48 kilogram kettlebell for a minute, and so when you've been training with me for a while, you will certainly be doing some of this down the track to improve your grip strength. The study that I found with this was that they got a group of men aged around about 60 years old, and they tested their grip strength, and they found out that 25 years later, it was your grip strength was a very good indication of whether or not you had some sort of disability, and because the grip strength is indicative of your musculoskeletal health, they found that having a good grip strength just gives you a much bigger reservoir of strength that you can draw on down the track. So, so I would certainly recommend that you work on improving your grip strength.
I have a question. In your practice in general, how long can people, what's the average when they first come to you? How long do they normally take?
I think most people find it hard to do 30 seconds, okay? And then I normally encourage people to do a minute, and then I think 90 seconds is good, and 3 minutes is great, so get them to build up. And it's very easy, so in Discovery Bay, so when you go walking, there's quite a few playgrounds, hang, time it, and they'll come back and say, oh, it took me 45, and you can just sort of put that 1 minute into your daily life very, very easily, and what it does is improves your grip strength, and it will also stretch out your upper back, also decompresses your back. So I guess like a lot of these exercises that I'll do in the gym, they're not really that sort of fancy, or they don't require any real equipment. It's just very basic human motion, and I don't think you'd see too many people just hanging in a gym by their hands. But in the future, I would like to think you will, because it's such a powerful exercise. That's why you don't need to spend hours and hours in the gym. You just do the right stuff and you do it well. And when we're talking about grip strength, I'm also interested in not just of your hands, but also of your feet. So as I was saying this morning, I was in Asia about 3 years ago on a remote part, and I saw these amazing feet of this 70-year-old lady, and she didn't speak English, but I spoke to her granddaughter, I guess, and I said, they're amazing. And the story is she'd never worn shoes. And you can see, so this is a 7-year-old's foot, and you can see that see how the toes are sort of splayed out, and see how she's got all this muscle up through here. I mean, there's no way you'd ever give this lady an orthotic. Yeah. So, so that's 70 years and no shoes. Walking around, you can see the ground is quite sort of rough and things. So I just had to photograph these feet. They're amazing. So when I'm training people, I'll do it with no shoes as well. If you go back and look at John here, I didn't originally do this, so he just continues to wear shoes. But anyone that trains with me now, I get them to take their shoes off. And I do it as well, I take my shoes off.
So does that train your toes to just be able to grip floor more, and you're able to get more stability? What's the purpose?
With taking the shoes off?
Yeah.
Well, there's a few actually. First of all, running shoes are really for running. You shouldn't really be wearing running shoes in the gym, because what you find is you've got a big, like a big piece of foam, and then that it desensitizes your feet to what actually is going on. So with your feet, that's where you get a lot of your balance from. So you need to know where you are in space. So when you've got your bare feet on the ground, you're getting this information up into your body of where you are. So that's the first reason. The second reason is a lot of activities are, so if I'm doing a lunge or even a squat, you can actually, often the problem is like the big toe. So, and if your big toe doesn't work properly, you can't walk properly. So I'll use it like a barefoot lunge to get an indication of how well the feet are working. So the feet are just as important as the hands. And so if you're in a gym training with shoes, it's not too dissimilar to lifting weights wearing oven mitts.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't do that. So I'm not too huge on gloves either. Unless you're lifting really, really heavy, you've got to condition your hands. So I'm very, to start off with, it's a little bit weird, but then once you do it, you wouldn't go back any other way. So,
what do you think of the 5-finger shoes? Is that like wearing a thin glove and it's not?
I think so for example, with that Indonesian lady, I think she could probably go alright in them. Her feet are conditioned for that. But the problem I see is when someone's been wearing shoes 30, 40 years and then boom, they just jump straight into those. So it's the transition. It depends where you're coming from. So as if you look at your children's feet, they're normally pretty good, but you push them into these sort of little capsules and put a heel. It's just how it is. So I wear these German ones because they've got these sort of big toe blocks, and these are super comfy though. So
what shoes are those?
These are called Trippen.
Trippen?
Trippen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not what you want to wear for hiking then.
No.
Trippen. I wear German hiking shoes though.
Okay.
Too, yeah.
So.
Just they're wider.
Does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was an interesting study. Well, what they did was they got these gymnasts, right, and they were doing acrobatics, landing acrobatics. Then they got them and they put their legs here into buckets of ice water and froze their legs. Okay, made them really cold. Then they did the acrobatics. They couldn't land their jumps. They were all just falling over. So the thing is, after the age of 40, and if you fall over, the most common thing you're going to break is your hip. And they say you enter that world through your pelvis and you leave it through the hip. So if you're 70 or 80 and you have a fall and you break your hip, it's really bad. So you need to have really good functioning feet, feeling of where you are in space, because your feet tell you where you are actually standing. So, and if you go into a nursing home, I was talking to a nurse, she said that the first thing they do is they check the person's feet, because the feet are a very good indication of what their health is like. So, if there's sores. Sorry?
What is the word?
They check your feet to see
First thing.
to determine your health.
Yeah.
Because it's a good indicator. That's amazing.
And the Chinese saying is you diet your feet first.
You
die with your feet first?
You die at the feet
Oh,
first.
So we should be walking around the house and wherever we can barefoot, like that's.
Around the house, that's a given, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, but some people wear sandals or flip-flops, house slippers, yeah, but that's, yeah.
I mean, that's also, a reason why we do yoga barefoot, right? And when it comes to the reception of the feet and the spatial awareness,
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
that connection.
How about skipping barefoot?
It's great. Look, but the problem
I was skipping barefoot, but I kind of started to feel some pressure.
Well, the issue I find is that it's a surface you're skipping on. So if you're skipping on concrete, that's hard. So I see quite a few trail runners, and they say to me that the concrete in Hong Kong is different. It's really hard. And I'm just not too sure if we're meant to run 40 kilometres on concrete. It's got no give. It's going to have to be you. So
the shock will absorb.
It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but skipping on concrete, I don't like that at all. Concrete's a very dead substance. Yeah. This is my fourth hack. This is the real fountain of youth, in my opinion. Lift heavy things, so improve your strength. And I guess what I see is that people are getting into mobility and sleep health, but one of the best things you can do is improve your strength. I don't see people doing that by and large. So when I'm taking people to the gym, I'm really working them towards getting them stronger. And you can increase someone's strength 400% very easily if you're very consistent and very methodical about the way you go about it. So there are many reasons why you should be working on your strength. There's hormonal reasons for boosts in growth hormone and testosterone, and there's conditioning of the joints, the tendons and the ligaments. It's good for your balance. It's good for muscle. When you have increased muscle, it increases your metabolism. You'll burn fat better. There's social aspects to lifting weights. A gym is, unfortunately, gyms these days, people get in there, you know what they do? They put in their earbuds and just listen to their phone. But one of my first jobs was working in a gym, and it was a really social atmosphere because you just put on the music and everyone had a fair bit of banter. But if you're training with a friend, it can be a lot of fun. And strength training just improves your physical capacity. So, and what you're going to see with the graph I've got here in a moment is now's the time to really be making that capacity as large as possible, because there will be an inevitable decline. It depends where you're going to start that from. But the reason I really like strength training is, and for people that are wanting to remain young, is that it's a fabulous way to train your nervous system. So this is a study that I was able to find, and it talks about the role of the nervous system in sarcopenia, muscle atrophy. So sarcopenia is where you're losing the number and size of muscle fibres. So as you get older, and certainly after the age of 50, you're going to have less and less muscle fibres. So if you do a biopsy of, say, someone who's 17, you'll see lots of fibres in there. But someone who's, say, 50, will have less, and someone who's 80, even less. And this study went through, and it was just commenting on a whole lot of other studies, talking about how we can use strength training as a way to balance out the muscles that we are losing. So the fact is that as we age, we're losing motor neurons. So we have less nerves going to the muscles for the firing. And so once you lose that nerve, the muscle fibre goes as well. And that is just going to happen. And when they're gone, they're gone. So, and there's other sort of problems with ageing in regards to cellular growth and hormonal changes and cell stress. So what you can see here is this is muscle mass and strength. So obviously this is when you're born. This is around about 20. This is around about 50. And you really see it start to drop off. So if you can really get your strength at a certain level around here, someone here, you'll have less. This is like the threshold where it's, and I certainly see this every day where someone who's 70 is like this, and they really enjoy their life, and someone who's 60 is like this, and they're just sick. So you've got to be up around here. It's not that hard. I think it's really following these 5 things I'm pointing out. So did you get a question about this before? Didn't you? I can't remember.
If Frank had the question about if it's...
Yeah, the question was, it seems that because you say you don't seem to increase muscles, right, after a while. I mean,
that's correct.
But there are some people who don't exercise at 40 and then they start exercising at 60 and they seem in better shape at 60 than at 40. So that means, they are stronger, correct? Or at least they seem to have more muscle. So it seems that the curve should go up a little bit for them.
Well, that's true, but you won't. Well, it will actually. This is as if you do nothing. But what's actually happening is you don't so much build more. If you do some weights and you do lots of weights, you're going to get more muscle fibres. They will expand, and a younger person is just very responsive to these sort of stimuluses. But you can't do that after 50. You won't get any more muscle fibres. But what you can do is you can maximise what you've already got. So you can make those fibres stronger, and you can make those neural connections stronger. So I guess we're talking about plasticity, and there's are you doing a talk on brain plasticity?
Yes.
And use it or lose it?
Yes. The brain is like the muscles, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't use them, you lose them, and vice versa. So
So
that plasticity is important.
What age should you start weight training? Like, should teenagers do weight training?
so I think if you're a female, you should start at 13. And if you are a boy, you should start at 14. And the reason being, girls have better maturity at 13.
Better what?
Maturity. Like a 13-year-old boy just cannot concentrate. It's just so
they can get injured or something, right? Or
sorry?
Then they can get easily injured because they're not paying attention.
No, but it's just a negative experience. It's just a drag for me. And then it's just no fun.
It's not a question of hormones.
Sorry?
There are not enough
They don't
hormones.
have the maturity at 13 to do
But I
weights.
thought it was hormonal.
I think it's a maturity thing.
It's a brain.
It's a brain thing. Yeah, so.
Does it stop their growth?
Sorry?
Does it stop their growth?
No. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more issues if you don't get active.
Yeah. Actually it promotes the growth, human growth hormone.
But
So
the thing is, like, we've got this idea of gym, and I tell you, it's been influenced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you go 13-year-old and they're going to be doing all this. So my daughter's 13. I said, well, look, as a condition of being part of this family, you need to start doing some things. So we do that Monday morning, 6 a.m. And the weight she lifts is 4 kilograms. And that's it. And I don't really care what weight she's lifting. I just want her to set up the habit and the correct movement. She's already got the correct movement. We just want to really bed that down. So she'll get to 18, she knows what to do. So, and there was a very good discus thrower. He was discus shot and hammer thrower in Australia. National champion. And so I started training Kurt he was 13, I think. He might have sort of just snuck in. But I trained Kurt from 13, 14 to about 20, I guess. And then other things, I still see Kurt, but he's a plumber now. He's sort of moved on from training Kurt. But he reached a super high level, and I trained him a lot, like every Friday night for a couple of years. And I still see him when I go back. Well, he still sees me. Kurt's now 27.
And he grew normally, no stunted growth.
He looks awesome. No, you start off at a low level, and I'm sure if you go to a country that's quite sort of hasn't been industrialised, you'll see children out in the field doing
picking up green bags of grain,
picking up bundles of wood. I'm sure they're not going to say, look at better wait till he's 19. So, yeah, I mean, when I'm talking about strength training, I'm not saying, they should be lifting 100 kilograms or anything, but you've got to start early, so by the time they get to 18, boom, they're good to go. So that's why, the issue now that I have is that gyms just won't let 13-year-olds join up.
Yeah.
So, and I've got lots of those sort of stories, like very, very good athletes in the national program, they can't join a gym. Like, well, that's just madness. I mean, you're going to start at 18. So anyway, I get to see a lot more 7-year-olds than 13-year-olds, unfortunately.
Sorry, I have a question about lifting heavy things. So does it really matter? Like, it's just basically for strength building, right? Like this, does it matter? Is it just on the arms or shoulder? Because I'm just relating me carrying all my groceries. It's like, is that part of lifting heavy things exercise? Could that be considered?
Are you asking how to carry your groceries? I'm not sure what your question is.
So to lifting heavy things,
Yep.
I feel that I tend to carry heavy things a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, but is there like the idea of carrying it? It's like that, on the shoulder?
Well,
Is there a difference?
I mean, there's a few things. First of all, I think you should keep the weight close to your body. So it should be sort of maybe around your, like if you're backpacking around the world, you have the weight around there.
Yeah.
But it depends what level you're at. So if you've been doing the grip strength stuff and just picking up the groceries is quite easy. So you might only be working at say 40% of your capacity. But if you don't have very good grip strength or good posture, you grab those weights, grab those bags. Well, I mean, so I just keep coming back to, like, for me, the squat is the foundational exercise. And you were up here before, weren't you? So, and if you're buckling, I'm just like, well, I'm going to put this body under some strain, and she's going to buckle somewhere. So I get the squat really nice and clean, like I did with John, and then he's good to go and do other things. So for me, it comes back to the squat again and again. Okay, there's John again. So 40. He's lifting about his body weight in a deadlift. That's the top part of the deadlift. So you can see his arms are hanging quite nicely, and he's had like ankle surgery and hernia surgery, shoulder surgery before. So his hardware is a little bit knocked up, but his software is very nice. Okay, and last hack that I want to give.
Sorry, a question on the weight. So if we want to start a healthy habit now to lift heavy things, what weight should we start? And could we just buy a set of weights and have it in the house or in the office, and rather than joining a gym?
Well, for me, it all starts with movement. Getting your movement really nice and clean. For me, that's the most important thing. Get your movement right. Because if your movement's right, then you start to load it. If your movement's not correct, you're not going to be working at your optimum. So I would be focusing on proper clean movement. And there's not many people that do this sort of work, in my experience. So, and I guess it comes back to finding the best coach you can find and get them to take you through the routine. So it's a skill, and you probably will have to put some money and time into finding that person. Doing something is much better than nothing. So by all means, get some stuff off eBay or wherever, and just by starting is good. But you certainly will progress with. If you want to learn the flute, you go get a flute teacher. So find a good coach. I think is the answer. But what I'm trying to do is give you some stuff here that you can start putting into your daily life, and you can see the way that I'm thinking, the way that I train people, the way that I live. I guess in my 27 years, this is what I found to be the most effective. Yeah. And the last hack is that you should be looking to embrace floor life. So getting down on the ground and spend extended time on the ground. And it's not just getting down on the ground, it's also getting down on the ground and getting up. And I did this earlier today. So I run a few classes, and it's part of the warm-up. Always like hands in the air. You just come and sit down, and then you can lie down. Stand up. So it's not so much just.
Yeah, you can do it.
And the way I think is that if you're out on Hollywood Road and you step on one of those sort of funny footpaths and you sort of fall, you catch yourself in this position. If you've got strength, you can sort of fall down nice and gracefully. But if you don't have the strength here and you find yourself in this position, that's when you're going to hit the ground and break your hip or your knee. So you see a lot of that. So if you want, like I think I've given you some exercise that you can just start doing at home. Like if you just want to do something, you don't have any weights or anything, just practicing standing up. Okay.
Using your hands.
Yeah. And on your head, you can get up and down. Anything you want like that. Just up and down off the ground.
While keeping your chest.
Well, yeah, but with some certain grace rather than, yeah. Come and show us the what you did today. You're quite good.
You mean for the grace? Is that? So, you want my shoes off?
No, it's okay.
So what? Just go down.
Oh,
nice. Yeah, yeah. No hands.
Without your hands.
On the ground.
It was better this morning.
Hey! For me, that's a fabulous exercise.
Yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah. Fabulous exercise.
Seems easy, but it's not.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you a few more little...
Sure.
Yeah, put your right hand on your knee. Put your right hand on your right knee. Right hand, right knee. Okay. And again.
And then what?
We'll sit down.
But that's
and now come back up.
Oh.
Oh, with the right
And I have to leave the hands here?
Not too bad.
What does that do?
Well, it just makes him, like he had to sort of think,
He had to
he
think
could put
about
his
it.
hand out here, so I guess it's this sort of mindful movement, so I'll do a lot of, I do this in my classes all the time, so can you go down on the ground, just with one leg?
With one leg.
Only.
How far? Just,
How far?
completely.
Hey! No, but can you sit on the ground?
What do I do?
Hey! And up.
One leg? One leg is nice.
No, you come up with two down.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, now let's see your left leg, please.
Ooh, that's going to be harder.
Just want a cushion in case you fall.
Yeah.
Just make it go.
I don't know.
Now, this is a man that will be able to play with his grandchildren on the ground when they come around. I have no doubts. He's not an old man. He won't be an old man, so it's...
So you don't know my age, right?
I don't, my age doesn't worry me, it's about how you move. But I can see, look, you've obviously done some stuff.
Well, actually, amazingly enough, I started only, so I'm 50, almost 58. Okay?
Yeah,
I started at 49.
Yep.
And because I was really going down. So it's the issue about you have to do it. It's not like to be nice to do it. You have to do it. I was a little bit heavier. I don't think I could run then 2 kilometers straight. You know, like. And I had to do something. So.
And what did you do?
I had a fantastic coach who forced me to run, which I hated. You know, and got me in a path where I still don't like it. I really.
But it's only running you did, is it? Only running?
No, everything, but function. But I still now I exercise every day, but I don't like it. But I know if I don't do it, then I wouldn't be able to do all this, and in 10 years it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
So it's really like a must do.
The only thing is that, and this is like a bit of a paradox, but if you haven't done much leading up to 40 or 50, what I normally find is your joints are in pretty good condition. So you actually can do this stuff. It's the people that have done lots and lots of impact sport, and they get to...
I played soccer when I was young, but never,
Yeah.
never big player.
So, yeah.
So So it's really a must, like must do.
So what if you have done a lot of sport and you've got a lot of injuries? What do you do that? Like I've ruptured a lot of tendons. Is there anything I can do, or is it like just getting the software better and
You get the
you're stuck
software.
with the
You work with the
hardware?
software. You work with the software.
But is there any like diet-wise, this sort of thing?
Well, that's not really my area of expertise,
Right.
but I think these days these anti-inflammatory diets are getting quite popular. So whole foods and greens and low sugar and organics. I think high in omega-3s. I think that makes a lot of sense for keeping inflammation down. So, but you just got to work with what you've got. So most people, if you're not doing a lot, you can certainly improve your situation. Because you probably had ankle injuries as a soccer player or anything like that. Was your body pretty good?
I just had a cut a calf, so that's why running was always a problem.
Yeah.
But actually, by running, now it doesn't bother me. So I had to go over certain, it's like in the beginning it was impossible. I got injured all the time when I ran, and now I can run because I guess my body changed.
What the injuries do, and they will highlight the deficiencies and the weaknesses. So in the first couple of years, you'll have sore backs and knees, but you have to go through that process. It's like a rebirth, and you should get sore, but you've got to sort of break through, and then, don't you think you get to the other side and life's good?
That's where I am now, right? So, but
yeah,
because
you need to be broken down.
It's hard sometimes.
And who was the coach in Spain, was he?
Sorry?
Where was the coach?
Yeah, it was in Spain.
Okay. Yeah. And it's an investment, isn't it?
Yeah, and he became a friend because, as you said, every day we're training so after a while.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So, earlier today we did some...
but the one thing you're not talking about, your 5 tips, which I thought you would give more weight, is the core. You don't talk too much about core, and I thought that core is kind of
the core, to be honest, the core is like, that is a whole new other presentation. So I could talk about the core for 2 hours.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying is you're not giving it apparently as much weight as like lifting weight or floor weight.
So I think that people just say core, and I don't think there's a good understanding of what core actually means. So, and I'm certainly very interested in the core, but I guess the approach I'm taking here is I'm starting with the big, large stuff. Let's work on that. And so someone might say, I do a lot of core exercises, but they can't squat. I'm like, well, that's not going to help you. So the core is vitally important, but that's probably talking about 2. Yeah. So there's specific ways of, the core's not just here, it's also your pelvic floor muscles and your diaphragm. And there's certainly some specific exercises you should be doing to get your core right. So maybe we'll do another talk. I think this is going flat here.
Well, it's pretty much the end of the slides anyway, so we're wrapping up now.
Oh, she's put it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, here I am in my element. So this is at the gym, and so we're doing some floor work, and we're lifting a weight, and we use the squat to get into this position. So this is the way I work these days. No shoes on as well, and for me the important thing with the gym is like a lot of big open space. So if you're a new trainer and you're working in a gym with lots of machines, that's great because it's very easy, but I prefer a movement base. That's why I work in a city location these days. All right.
Let's press, I don't know how you... Yeah.
That's my business in Australia. These are my details. So I've got some business cards here. If you want to contact me, I work as an osteopath. I also train people in the gym. Even if you've got some questions, you're welcome to email me. I do a lot of emailing when I'm on the aeroplane. So if there's anything I can cover tonight, you're more than welcome to reach out. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for guys for running over, so we're just going to wrap up real quick. Thank you so much. I'll send you an email, follow-up email with all of Erin's details on how to find it and all the great stuff and a couple of points that we talked about today, as well as some other giveaways and special offers. So I'm giving away Secrets to Keeping Fit Over 40. It's an ebook, so you'll get that in the email, and 25% off on a private consultation. You just put in the code consult with Zora, and I'll share that with you too. And Neelam has got Secrets to Living Stress-Free, a special book.
Yeah, it's an ebook, just working around the different styles of yoga, and with the team of over 24 teachers that we have, who really pairs up best with the customized needs and the objectives that you have. So you can download it at inspireyoga.com.
I'll send you a link to that too. And I hope you can make it to the next talk. Kate Bridle here, she's going to be talking about sleep and how to get better sleep. After that, brain health, and then beauty as well. So I want to introduce Kate just for a second, because she's got a little pitch about what she's going to talk about, so you have an idea if you want to come.
So if you're the sort of person that has struggled with restless sleep, or you're self-medicating to get yourself to sleep and you really need to sort your sleep out, then I would advise coming on the 24th of May to listen to my talk. I take a completely different approach, a very holistic approach, using cognitive behavioural therapy techniques, which is guaranteed to give you a better night's sleep.
There we go. So that's Kate. You'll meet her in 2 Thursdays coming from now.
On the 24th.
On the 24th.
And a quick thank you to our sponsors. John Masters Organics. You have a pouch of certified organic skincare. Basically, it's great for the environment, eco-friendly, and just very gentle. It's a pioneer in the organic skincare range. Thank you to Sweet Secrets. They have a special Mother's Day offer. Put in the promo code IW15% and you'll get 50% off a Mother's Day cake. It's this weekend. Also just knowing that the selection is really based around the talk today and working around movement and helping with that. So we've got maca and goji berries in the brownies, which is really great for energy and keeping you on your toes. We have sashicandra berries in zippy sparkles. The teas that are blended and curated, also organic certified with detox, works with vitality, endurance, and fights fatigue. And then Spicebox Organics have tulsi, turmeric, and ginger. They're all anti-inflammatory, works with movement, and helps to prevent joint pain. So please give some love to our sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.